You're listening to The Moose and the Loose, your 10 minutes action-packed financial podcast with your host, Mike Yahoo. Hey, what's up, Market Moose? Mike from the Moose on the Loose. Happy Wednesday. This episode has been inspired by one of my members that discussed with me the payment frequency for dividends. And he was saying, well, Mike, you were discussing a stock that pays biannually not too long ago. And, like as a retiree and income-seeking investor, like the payment frequency really matters, and it's should the biannual dividend payment, so twice a year, should have been highlighted pretty much at the top of the stock card. So now he was just saying since it's very important for him, he was a bit disappointed to see that it was there, but roughly in midway or 2/3 into the stock description that we have at Dividend Stocks Rock, where all the dividend metrics are. So the payment frequency, the payout ratio, the yield, the past dividend growth increase and annualized growth rate for 1, 3, 5 years, the dividend growth streak, and all the other dividend metrics that we're following. And I understood his point about generating income, and you want to replicate that paycheck that you once had as an employee. But I disagree on the fact that it should be an important metric. Like the monthly, the quarterly, the biannual, or the annual dividend payment should not make any difference in your portfolio. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And a way to actually avoid depending on the frequency of your payment. So I get the point. You need income. You want to recreate your paycheck. And why you want to recreate it at retirement? Well, because it gives you a sense of what's going to happen, right? We've been building our retirement plan, our savings based on our paycheck that comes every week, every 2 weeks, or every month, depending on people, mostly every 2 weeks, of course. And now it's easy to say, well, every month I'm receiving $5,000 in dividends, so I can spend $5,000, and then that's the end of the story. I get that's the ultimate simplest way. You don't have to spend a single minute figuring out what's happening until you do that. And it gives you that comfort. It gives you it feels good to know that by the end of this month, you're going to receive X amount of dividend, and that X amount will be relatively stable from one month to another. And hopefully it's going to increase over time, right? So now if you want to create that and you don't want to just stick with the monthly income companies, because of course you have some products that will offer you that. You have some companies, mostly REITs, that will pay a monthly distribution. But in general, you'll need to mix monthly, quarterly, biannual, or annual dividend payment. And that's going to create an Excel spreadsheet nightmare already, because you're going to try to match everything, and that would be one challenge. But also you would limit your choice of stocks just based on the dividend cycle, right? So dividend cycle would be either January, April, July, October. So if we look at quarterly or dividend payments, if not after that, February, May, August, and November, and finally March, June, September, December. But the problem with that is, why would you limit yourself if you found a high quality company, but you already have too many dividend paid in January? So now you're looking for for a company that starts their dividend cycle in February or in March instead of January. Why would you do that? You would limit yourself. You would limit your choices, not based on fundamentals and financial metrics, but just by the fact that you have a dividend payment coming up, too big in April, not big enough in May. You want to make that change. And that will create a lot of time on spreadsheet, but will not increase your dividend payment overall after the year, will not increase your likelihood of having dividend increases or your likelihood of having a better or worse return. It's only going to be arbitrary on the fact that the company pays on one day or another. And kind of ironically, you're going to have a few companies that are paying on the first of a month. So sometimes by the time it's being processed, it's not exact, or on the 31st or the 30th, well, then it's not going to be processed on the same month every single time. So that could create even more nightmare for your spreadsheet. So instead of doing that, you can just have a cash wedge, and that would be the solution to all those problems. And you will not have to go month by month, like be very like specific on how much you're going to receive this month, meaning this is how much you're going to be able to spend. But instead, having like just changing your dividend payment frequency to going from like one model where you count monthly, quarterly, biannual, and annual payment to just annual payment. Like, what's the sum of all your dividend received at the end of the year? And then you can build your cash wedge around that, which is like super simple. And you put your cash wedge into your high interest rate savings account or something like that, just trading like a few percentage points. That's going to be enough. And you would be surprised to see the difference on your entire retirement plan for the next 30 years. If you go from you take, I don't know, maybe 5% of your portfolio invested into a 2% yielding account instead of like a 6.5% total return on the market for the next 30 years. And you'll see that it's not the difference is not that big. And on top of that, it gives you more room and flexibility if you have a down market where you can get the money from your cash wedge instead of focusing on the payment frequency. And then since the difference will not be like important, because again, keep in mind, the cash wedge should be just like the gap between what you're going to receive and what you need for like maximum 3 years. So it's going to be probably less than 5% of all your portfolio that's going to be in cash, just enough that like don't have to worry about when the payment is being added, because whenever the payment is being made, well, it just replenish a part of your cash wedge. So every month you would draw the money from the cash wedge. So, and then the rest of the money is being deposited there. So if it's deposited in January or in February or in March or whatever, not going to change anything in your income. The overall yield, that will be calculated for the year, not for a month, right? Because again, you're limiting yourself in terms of products, in terms of strategy, in terms of companies, will not help you build a better portfolio. Will just, focused on a month by month Excel calculation that will be relatively complicated instead of focusing on something super simple. Just bring all the amount on the annual basis, use a cash wedge, and there you go. So that is a great way to simplify how you build your portfolio and focus more on quality metrics. Between you and me, I wouldn't mind if I have all my companies that pays dividend in February and then following this quarterly cycle, because it's not going to change anything at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and as long as you have planned your budget. And you should not live, as much as when you're working, you should not live paycheck to paycheck. As a retiree, you should not live dividend by dividend. If there's anything wrong that happens with a company, or if a product slash their distribution or modify it, it's going to create like a whole a big change in your budget, while it shouldn't. It should be part of like a global strategy, a long-term strategy, and you should think in years instead of thinking in months. And that's going to help you a lot build your portfolio the right way, focusing on fundamentals, your investment thesis, and great financial metrics over time. So I hope to have help you to set this up the right way for your portfolio. We're going to talk again on Friday. I'm going to share a little bit more thoughts about my kind of like pre-retirement plan the next 5 years. So we're going to talk about that. Don't worry, I have no plan of retiring. So I'm going to explain you that as well on Friday. So until then, don't forget to stay invested. Hey, welcome to the disclaimer. If you're listening to The Moose and the Loose, you cannot really expect me to give you buy or sell recommendation or financial advice, right?
You're here for fun, you're here for information, and some entertainment. But I am not your financial advisor, I am not your broker, so therefore I'm not liable if you're losing money after listening to the podcast. If you're looking for some advice, go see a professional. If not, you can enjoy the show and do your due diligence after it.